Good afternoon and welcome all of you. I am Paras Bothra and today our webinar topic is Crystal Gaze 2021 and beyond. We have with us a very special guest, Mr. Nilesh Shah, Managing Director of Kotak Asset Management Company Limited. Mr. Nilesh was part of the team that has received the Best Fund House of the Year award at the mutual funds where he worked with Kotak MF, ICICI Prudential and Franklin Templeton over the last 3 decades. Mr. Nilesh is chairman of AMFI, member of MFAC, and a part-time member of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. Mr. Nilesh was featured in Top 50 People of India by India Today for CY20. Thank you, Mr. Nilesh Shah, for joining us. And before we proceed further, I would like to briefly introduce Ashika Group. We are a quarter of a century-old financial house having pan-India presence and deep-rooted existence in the northeastern region in retail broking. With over 1 lakh clients, 350 plus partners across India. We are empaneled with almost 100 institutions and serving 200 plus family offices. We are also into investment banking, wealth management, AIF, mutual fund distribution, and BFC funding. We have received awards and accolades for the best broking house in Eastern region from NSE for 2 consecutive years. That is 17-18, 18-19. Also awarded for maximum number of accounts in DP in Eastern region from CDSL. Now, I'll move on to the structure of the webinar, where I'll initially have Q&A session, couple of questions I'll put up, and then we'll take up questions from our business partners, APs and HNIs, so that to make it more interactive. And we'll have it talk both in Hindi and English for the ease of our participants as well. So let's start. And the first question to ask is that we have seen a rampant rally in Indian equity markets in last couple of months. And this has been a very steep rally. Now the thing is, I have been reading a couple of days days back when Sensex hit 50,000, and I was reading your articles, one of your article on the newspaper, and where it was said that Teji Mandi is like Poonam and Amavas. So the pattern may not be the same, but the thing is, when you are seeing Poonam, that is full moon, it's the splendor of a full moon, that is Poonam. At that time, you should think of like a Amavas. So now when the market is so red hot and it has rallied so sharp and stocks have moved up 50%, 70%, 100%, and maybe 200% in many of the cases. So how should investor guard themselves in terms of whatever profits they have made? And how do you see the market going for this calendar year and beyond?
So Paras, Poonam Ammas is part and parcel of life. Similarly, Teji Mandi is also part and parcel of stock market or any other market. Markets will go up, markets will come down, and we have to live with that reality. Now, how do you make money out of this market? Well, 100 मर्जों की एक ही दवा है, asset allocation. You have to buy when things are cheap and you have to sell when things are expensive. बोलने में ये बहुत सिंपल है, करने में जान निकल जाती है. करने में जान इसलिए निकलती है बिकॉज हमें डर लगता है, हमें भय लगता है, लालची बन जाते हैं. जब मार्केट नीचे गिरता है तो सबको मालूम है कि ये सस्ता हो रहा है, लेकिन डर है आज खरीदूं और कल और नीचे गिरा तो. अब बॉटम पे खरीद के टॉप पे बेचे, ऐसा तो कोई पैदा ही नहीं हुआ. तो आप अगर एक एवरेजिंग करें कि ठीक है आज थोड़ा खरीदा, कल नीचे गया तो और खरीदूंगा, परसों नीचे गया तो और ज्यादा खरीदूंगा. सिमिलरली जब ऊपर जाता है मार्केट, सबको मालूम है कि ये एक्सपेंसिव मार्केट है, बेचना चाहिए, पर आज बेचूं उसकी जगह कल बेचूं तो थोड़ा पैसा और बनेगा, कल की जगह परसों बेचूं तो थोड़ा पैसा और बनेगा. जब तक आप अपने भय और लालच को काबू में रख के डिसिप्लिन एसेट एलोकेशन नहीं कर पाएंगे, तब तक मार्केट में पैसा बनाना मुश्किल है. तकदीर से पैसा बहुत लोग बना सकते हैं, बट स्किल से पैसा बनाना इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. एंड स्किल पे पैसा बनाने के लिए ये डिसिप्लिन एसेट एलोकेशन बहुत जरूरी है.
Correct. So the other thing also, what generally people get driven to, and most importantly, the market participants and the retail investors, and in every bull market, एक नई breed आती है equity market में. And now with this digital kind of thing, we are seeing a new investors have got into the market, and probably the young generation who does investments and trading through app. Now, the thing is, they haven't seen previous cycles as well, and they get off guard at times and get into low quality stocks. So I'll again take your learnings, and that was really very impressive. I'll request all of the participants also to read those punchlines and all those one-liners, and those are really crystals, what you have shared that day. So one again line, I'll pick it up from there, that between Batata and Tata, Batata is the low quality stocks for the participants, and Tata is the high quality stocks. Generally, we get driven to low quality stocks. फिर बाद में क्या है कि market गिरता है तो those stocks hits us quite a lot, and in those cases the averaging doesn't work as well. So what do you suggest? How does one, because at this point in time the mid caps and small caps are doing exceptionally well, and in this tide of this rally, you will see a lot of low quality stocks also moving higher. So a word of caution, or your views on it, looking at so many cycles in your career.
So पैसा तो हमेशा क्वालिटी स्टॉक में बनता है. Ultimately, what is stock market? It is partnership with the industrialist. अब आप एक अच्छे आदमी से पार्टनरशिप करेंगे तो आपका पैसा बनेगा. किसी चोर से पैसा पार्टनरशिप करेंगे तो आपका पैसा लेके भाग जाएगा. So when you are investing, try to invest in businesses which are real, which makes more money than their cost of capital, where the promoter does not take you for granted. He believes in true partnership and corporate governance. And finally, that promoter is working for the company. When you open page 3 of newspapers, you see many industrialists partying. Now, not all partying industrialists are bad, and not all working industrialists are good, but it gives you a sense. If a person is spending disproportionate time partying, when will he look after business? So you try to build a portfolio of companies which you believe are good businesses, run by good managers, and are available at good prices. बोलना again easy है, करना उतना ही मुश्किल है. But I'll give you an example कि ये कितना easy हो सकता है. So बहुत साल पहले फिडेलिटी मैगेलन दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा इक्विटी फंड हुआ करता था. पीटर लिंच, लेजेंडरी फंड मैनेजर, वाज हिज फंड मैनेजर. उसको सपोर्ट करने के लिए बहुत बड़ी टीम थी. एक बार अपने सारे फंड मैनेजर को वो उठा के स्कूल लेके गया और बोला कि ये स्कूल के बच्चे लोग एक स्टॉक्स पोर्टफोलियो बनाएंगे और आप लोगों का पोर्टफोलियो उनसे अच्छा होना चाहिए, उनसे बेहतर परफॉर्मेंस देना चाहिए. ना फंड मैनेजर्स आर बाय नेचर इगोइस्टिक. हमें लगता है हमें सब कुछ आता है, दुनिया हमसे सीखेगी. Now, when the fund managers were told to compete against kids, their ego got hurt. They told Peter Lynch कि वो कोई ढंग की competition लाओ, ये क्या बच्चों को खड़ा करके रखा है. And Peter Lynch was very serious. He said, look, this is serious competition. I'm not joking. This is real. Now, fund managers had to listen to their boss. They opened up their computers, started doing all kinds of research and build a portfolio of stocks. बच्चों को बोला कि भैया आप भी अब स्टॉक उठा लो. Kids said no competition, no pressure. They picked up whatever they liked. 1 year down the line, kids' portfolio outperformed professional fund managers' portfolio by a margin. Why did that happen? The fund managers, trying to prove themselves, picked up high risk, high return bet. पैसा बना नहीं, रिस्क सर पे आके गिरा. बच्चों के ऊपर कोई प्रेशर नहीं था. उन्होंने उन कंपनीज में निवेश किया whose products they were using. कोई कैडबरी खा रहा था तो कैडबरी की कंपनी ली, किसी ने सीरियल्स खा रहे थे तो सीरियल्स की कंपनी ली, किसी को दवाई ले रहा था तो उसकी कंपनी ली, किसी ने कोई ब्रांड मतलब कोला पी रहा था उसकी कंपनी ली. By following this simple childlike innocence of buying companies whose product they were consuming and were happy with it, that outperformed professional fund managers. While this incidents occurred way back in the 80s, my feeling is that if you keep on repeating them year after year, kids will outperform professional fund managers because kids have the innocence to pick up those companies.
Right. So that's very well put up. And now the third question I have in mind is that with regard to bull market. So generally what happens is that there is a flavor of a bull market. Every bull market has its own flavor. Maybe it in 2000 where IT, and 2007-8 infrastructure, real estate and whatnot. And recently the consumer facing businesses and things like that. Now here what I am or we are gathering is that this time the investment or whatever the trend is emerging is with regard to anti-China. One is with regard to exports, where there are a lot of companies vacating spaces, Chinese companies vacating. Like for example, recently I was hearing the con call of Kajaria, one of the company, and they were saying that the volume growth is going to be 20-25%, and there are from Morbi, there are a lot of players who are exporting big time. IT, when I look at the con calls and here, they are saying that there is a lot of pipelines of the orders what they are getting. Similarly, there are commentaries like from one of the compressor business, they are saying orders picking up. And in steel as well, there are companies which are saying that China is not exporting, so we are getting opportunity to export. So every bull market has its flavor and pillar of growth. Probably export, this is what I am hearing. And the second is with regard to PLI and manufacturing, wherein a lot of Indian companies and the organized players are getting bigger because of the COVID, and unorganized players are facing the brunt. And the supply chain disruptions has led to many of the companies surprise big time, like Havells or consumer durable space or many other spaces wherein. And in the chemicals also, the export and pharma also export. So how do you read all these things, what is happening, and to declutter all these things and clearly have a view for the investors so that they can get into the right sectors and invest?
So, see, contract manufacturing is something which is picking up. In 2000, IT companies got an opportunity due to Y2K. They were told to convert zeros into 2000s. And based on that opportunity, over the period, they created multi-billion-dollar IT industry, which rewarded unit holders, shareholders a lot. Now, similar thing is coming in global supply chain management as these companies move from China to other countries for their supply base. Many of these companies are going to other countries, but some of them are coming to India. Now, if you look at any consumer brand in durable side, refrigerator, television, air conditioner, washing machine, electrical appliances, while the brand is of a global company, most of the time they outsource manufacturing to someone else. These companies are making such products for India market. Now these companies are saying that, can you supply to us globally? India market is one, global market is 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times bigger. All those companies who will become part of global supply chain management will have Y2K kind of opportunity of technology industry. Their businesses can grow 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times from current level. And this is where opportunity remains in contract manufacturing. If you remember in IT industry, there were successful players like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, Tech Mahindra. There were spectacular failures like DSQ Software, Silverline, Pentamedia. There were frauds like Satyam. So you have to choose right company. But this contract manufacturing space, which is available across electronics manufacturing, consumer durables manufacturing, and some of the consumer staples manufacturing, this will be great opportunity.
Okay. So great. Any other contract manufacturing is one space where you are saying there will be a lot of opportunities with the PLI scheme and all these things. Any other sectors where you see there will be a lot of tailwinds? Like for example, the ESG is one theme which is coming up. The other theme is with regard to renewables. So do you foresee any change or any theme where the tailwinds are much bigger apart from one contract?
Over next 12 months मुझे लगता है कि home improvement sector will do well. See, एक ये work from home में all of us realize that we are one short room in our house. I stay in 4-bedroom hall kitchen apartment. If it would have been 5-bedroom, it would have been better. Someone might be staying in 10-bedroom hall kitchen apartment, but he may feel that एक और room होता तो अच्छा रहता. So there is a primary demand coming from real consumers to buy real estate. Second, all of us have worked from home for bulk of last year. Now that has created wear and tear in house. कहीं पेंट निकल गया है, कहीं पे टाइल्स निकल गई है, कहीं पे फैन नहीं चल रहा, कहीं पे लाइट नहीं चल रही, कहीं पे फर्नीचर रफ हो गया है, कहीं पे एक ही चीज देख देख के मन उभर आया है. Now in Western world, if you have to replace light, if you have to paint a wall, you do it yourself. यहाँ पे तो अपने पास लग्जरी है लेबरर को लाने की, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर लाने की. Now in COVID-19 environment, we didn't open our house for outsider. But as vaccination happens, as active cases come down, we'll open our house for contractors and laborers. There will be pent-up demand for paints, tiles, furniture, fixture, fittings, cables, wires, electricals, consumer durables. Primary and secondary demand coming together, home improvement sector will see tremendous growth. And that will support home improvement companies across cement, wire, cable, plastic furniture, paints, tiles, some of the consumer durables companies, consumer staple companies. तो मुझे लगता है कि ये एक ब्रॉड सेक्टर को अगर आप पकड़े होम इम्प्रूवमेंट तो उसमें फायदा होगा.
True, we have seen this in recently Asian Paint with talking about volume growth of 30%. All of a sudden, the paint is going up. So another important question which comes to my mind is with regard to the quarterly results. Generally, what we are seeing, and in this case, what we are seeing is that this third quarter result is exceptional, probably up till now what we are seeing. And this is a surprise to many of them. That is why the market has rallied. And how do you read this? This is one of the finest quarter of corporate India. Do you read this and this trend, whether it is going to continue this kind of growth?
So March quarter, Nifty 50 companies profit was about 50,000 crore. June quarter, it was 45,000 crore. Most people thought that September quarter will be 65 to 85,000 crore. The actual number came at 1,10,000 crore. This was the highest ever quarterly profit made by India Inc. अब जो बुल है वो कह रहा है कि बस 1,10,000 करोड़ हमने उस समय बनाया जब इकोनॉमी की हालत खस्ता थी, तो अब तो इससे ज्यादा ही बनेगा. जो बेयर है वो ये कह रहा है कि बस वो 1,10,000 प्रॉफिट, 1,10,000 करोड़ प्रॉफिट आप बना पाए बिकॉज आपने सैलरीज काटी, ट्रैवलिंग काटा, सेल्स प्रमोशन काटा, एडवर्टाइजिंग काटा, बिजनेस प्रमोशन काटा, रेंट काटी. अब तो आपको खर्चा करना पड़ेगा, तो ये सस्टेनेबल नहीं है. This is where there is a difference of opinion between bulls and bears. Bulls are saying that companies will continue to declare better profitability. And so far the results of December quarters are indicating that. If you see Asian Paints volume growth was 33%, CEAT 27%, Havells 40%, Kajaria 40%. Matlab, this company's results are indicating that economy is in 20% plus growth because they are growing at twice the rate of that. Now we know economy is in contraction, and despite that, these companies are delivering such a fabulous results. So results are coming way ahead of investors' expectation.
True. This has been a surprise. And do you think that this organized and unorganized theme, which we used to talk about, that is also getting accelerated with time? And these companies are
undoubtedly. So my feeling is that Asian Paints, Kajaria Ceramics, Havells, they are all declaring great profit and great volume growth because they are getting market share from unorganized players. See, COVID-19 has hurt maximum the MSME players. उनके पास liquidity नहीं होती है, management उतना capable नहीं होता है. They operate in niche markets, and when their business stops, they don't have sufficient capacity to bounce back, and which is where unorganized sector is losing market share to organized sector. There is also, implementation of GST, which is finally bringing results. So many unorganized companies were actually doing tax arbitrage. They were not paying fair share of tax, and that was their profit. Now with GST, that is no longer possible. Today, every day we hear that this guy made fraud in GST and now he's behind the bar. It's no longer like fraud in income tax, sales tax, VAT, didn't matter. You could always settle it. Now you are going behind the bar. So there is better GST compliance, and hence many small and medium enterprises whose business model was arbitraging tax, that has gone away. So there is undoubtedly shift from unorganized sectors to organized sectors across industry.
And what about capex? How do you read this capex when it is going to pick up? Whether we are already started with the capex, private capex, and whether this is a theme which is going to play out going forward?
So if you look at private capex, more or less it has remained constant over the last 8 years. Contrary to popular perception that private capex is not happening, as a percentage of GDP, private capex is down just about 1%. It's more or less constant. It's not significantly different. It was 15% in 2012. It is now 12% in 2020. The real challenge for us is household investments in real estate. From 16% of GDP, it has come down to 11%. It has constantly fallen over last decade or more. Now, there seems to be alignment of stars for revival of real estate. एक रेरा की वजह से अब बिल्डर थोड़ा ठीक ठाक हो गया है. पहले वो क्लाइंट को, they were not treating clients properly. Ab between buyer and builder, there is level playing field. Second, home loan interest are 6.75%. Even state governments are not able to borrow at that rate many a times. Everyone is in need for one extra room in their house. So people are migrating to bigger houses. There are many state governments which is giving stamp duty concession if you buy in a particular period. Housing prices have remained soft for last 5-7 years. So affordability has improved. Put all these things together, housing and construction will take off. From about 6% of GDP, it can probably go into double digit. And that is how investments will pick up. आज real estate में boom आती देखी तो अल्ट्राटेक has announced कि हम लोग सीमेंट में expand करेंगे. ग्रासिम बोलता है मैं पेंट इंडस्ट्री में घुस जाऊंगा. So in all these companies, industrialists, businessmen will do capex if they see the demand coming through.
Sure. So now one last question. We will take up questions from participants after that. The most important question is about the budget, which is looming just nearby. So how do you see budget where the government coffers are not that great enough?
See, अपने है ना, मतलब गवर्नमेंट कॉफर्स खाली ऐसा सोचते हैं, पर हकीकत वो नहीं है. भारत सरकार बहुत सारी एसेट्स के ऊपर बैठी है. उस एसेट्स को उन्हें लिक्विडेट करना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल देता हूं. जब 1965 का युद्ध हुआ तो पाकिस्तान और भारत ने दोनों ने एक कानून बनाया कॉल्ड कस्टोडियन ऑफ एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी. जो लोग भारत छोड़ के पाकिस्तान में सेटल हो गए थे, उनकी यहाँ की प्रॉपर्टी भारत सरकार ने टेक ओवर कर ली. सिमिलरली जो पाकिस्तान से भारत आए थे, उनकी प्रॉपर्टी पाकिस्तान ने टेक ओवर कर ली. उन्होंने 1971 में ये कस्टोडियन ऑफ एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी सब बेच बाच के खत्म कर दिए. हमारे वहां पे वो आज भी चली आ रही है. 9,000 से ज्यादा प्रॉपर्टी है जिसकी वैल्यू 2014 में 1 लाख करोड़ के आसपास थी। बंबई में बहुत ही टॉनी एरिया है जहां पे जिन्ना हाउस है। अब जिन्ना साहब तो पाकिस्तान चले गए, उनकी प्रॉपर्टी यहाँ पे है। ये प्रॉपर्टीज को अगर हम बेचे तो प्रोबेबली 1 लाख करोड़ से ज्यादा पैसा निकल आ सकता है। नाउ ऑब्वियसली इस प्रॉपर्टीज पे टाइटल डिस्प्यूटेड होंगे, ऑब्वियसली इस प्रॉपर्टीज के ऊपर इंक्रोचमेंट होगा, बट अगर आपको 1 लाख करोड़ रुपया चाहिए तो थोड़ी मेहनत तो करनी पड़ेगी। और अगर पाकिस्तान वो चीज 1971 में कर सकता है तो हमें भी 50 साल के बाद कुछ तो करना ही चाहिए। So our government is asset rich. They have to think innovatively to raise capital. There is enough resources available in India to fund all our legitimate requirement.
True. So we'll take up questions from speaker, and anybody who is willing to ask questions can raise their hands or as well put in the chat box. So I'll read out the questions that way as well. And so before that, let me look at. So let me take up questions. There is one question with regard to view on about gold. This is from Mr. Saket. So
Saket ji, generally सोना उस समय काल में बहुत अच्छा करता है जब ब्याज की दरें बहुत कम हो और लिक्विडिटी बहुत ज्यादा हो। लास्ट हमने ये चीज 2008 से 2011 के बीच में देखी थी, where gold prices moved from about $750 in September 2008 to roughly about $1,900 by September 2011. Now gold prices are supported by low interest rates and high liquidity. Gold prices should give better return than fixed income over next 3 to 5 years as this low interest rates and high liquidity environment sustains. When you are investing in gold, do remember one risk factor which is big. In India, we levy 12.5% import duty on gold. What is worth $100 gold in international market like Dubai, London, Singapore is worth $112.50 in India. The day import duty comes down to zero, your rupee gold prices will be down 12.5%. If you can afford to take this 12.5% risk, it is worth investing in gold.
Okay, so there is one more question from Mr. Saurav Shah. So he's asking, what is your view on PSU banks?
Saurav, by PSU banks have lots of value, but you know, they are like a player who does not know what is his objective. Are they supposed to make money for shareholders? Are they supposed to work for employees? Are they supposed to work for society? Are they supposed to work for government? Because PSU banks have so many multiple objectives, they are not able to focus on just shareholder value creation. Second, in PSU bank, salaries are quite different. They pay far more at the lower end of workforce. So all the junior employees of PSU bank earns far more than private sector banks. But as you go on top, your salary doesn't increase proportionately. The chairman and managing director of State Bank of India, which is India's largest bank, draws a salary which is very, very low compared to what he should be getting. And this is true for all PSU senior management. Now, how will you get talent if you're not going to pay for it? On top of it, these people have so much constraint. एक डिसीजन अगर गलत जाता है तो सीबीआई सीबीसी इंक्वायरी लग जाती है उनके ऊपर। एक जगह पे काम करते हैं, सीखते हैं तो 3 साल में ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं। Now, how will this bank make money for you? You are not sure of talent. You are not sure of their motivation. You are not sure what their objective is. In this environment, PSU stocks will find it very, very difficult to create value for their investors on a sustainable basis. And that's evident in the last 15, 20 years. So my recommendation in PSU banks will be to buy them when they are very, very, very cheap and sell when they are cheap.
Okay, so we'll take up next question from Mr. Devras, who was asking for a question. So we can take him up. So before we proceed, there is one question with regard to your SIP on insurance sector. This is from Tanuj Agarwal. Mr. Tanuj.
So in insurance sector, I prefer general insurance over life insurance. In general insurance, 50% market share is with public sector companies, 50% with private sector companies. My feeling is that private sector companies will continue to grow faster than public sector companies in the industry, and they will create a lot of value for their shareholders. In the life insurance business, obviously LIC is big. LIC's IPO will re-rate many other companies also. However, one fundamental difference between life insurance and mutual fund is transparency. In mutual fund, if there is a mis-selling by distributor, the cost is borne by the distributor, never by the investor. But in insurance industry, if there is mis-selling by agent, the cost is borne by the investor or the consumer. If he redeems halfway, he has to pay a price. So there is this subtle difference between insurance and mutual fund. Eventually, insurance will have to become as transparent as mutual fund, and that's going to impact their valuations, which are at current level.
Great. So we have Mr. Sudhir Devras. So he's ex-TRF MD. So I'll ask him to put up a question. So he's there live.
Hi, Nilesh.
Hi.
It was wonderful hearing you again. One or two, not really questions, there are issues which I wonder, maybe I'm not in touch with what is happening in the industry today. But tell me, I always wonder that how much these new road build-up and new infrastructure which is built in roads and these freight corridors, how much are they driving steel and cement consumption? And how long can it be? Or is it that more or less this construction and infrastructure is reaching its end and we are seeing little change in steel and cement consumption? That is one question I had. And second question is, which comes straight away to my mind, is when we have these beautiful roads and freight infrastructure, commercial vehicles business should go up. But is there a possibility of electrical vehicles coming into the play? Because when we talk about electrical vehicles, we generally talk about cars and motorcycles, and we don't talk about commercial vehicles. So these are kind of two issues which I always wonder about. I would be happy if you could throw some light on it. Thank
Sure,
you.
Sudhir. So today also electric vehicles on commercial side are far and few between. Obviously, China has taken a huge lead over there, and more than half of world's electrical commercial vehicle are made by China. In India, my feeling is that our journey is likely to be from fossil fuel internal combustion engine vehicles to hybrid vehicles, and then eventually to electric vehicles. As of today, bearing Mahindra's, which was earlier known as Maini, there's no electrical vehicle manufacturer on the four-wheeler side. On the commercial vehicle side, there's one Chinese company which has invested in Indian company, but so far the production has not been significant. If we look at over next 5, 10, 15 years, my feeling is that hybrid vehicle manufacturers, whether two-wheeler, four-wheeler or commercial, they will have a better opportunity at growth than pure electric vehicle. In terms of steel consumption, the largest user of steel will be real estate industry. Even though real estate has declined significantly in terms of activity, it's now bottoming out and moving up. Automobiles also consumes fair amount of steel as automobile sector has grown over the years. Railway, freight corridors, road construction, that has undoubtedly consumed steel as activity level picked up significantly in last 5 years. But today, steel industry is a fairly diversified industry, and they also have active export market whenever there is opportunity. More importantly, they have been able to negotiate well with industry for import protection and protect themselves against Chinese or Russian dumping. So overall, steel industry has done well. However, if you look at from a shareholder point of view, companies which remain focused on Indian market have done far better than companies which have gone into global diversification. So that's my 2 bits on the steel industry.
Thank you, Nilesh. Wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sudhirji, for asking the question. So now we have with us Mr. Rajiv Suneja. So Rajivji, you can put up a question as well. Please
Thanks, Paras. Thanks, Paras. Nileshji, hi. It's a pleasure to be hearing you again. And, while I was wanting to understand your perspective on the interest rates, since you touched about steel, I also want to sort of, know something beyond what you've just discussed on steel. So my first question is with respect to the interest rate. Last financial crisis in 2008, I think in early 2009, we had seen interest rate going down below 6. And in a couple of years, they bounced back to 8+. I'm talking about GSEC as such. And this time again, as we're seeing liquidity going up, etc., we saw interest rate coming down. So what's your view on interest rate now on the GSEC? When do we see them, or will we see them again at 8% again going forward? That's one question. Second is on the steel side, since you mentioned about steel. Now, last couple of days, we saw again steel stocks correcting. What's your view on the prices of iron ore, steel, considering the amount of money that has got printed across the globe and the pickup again we have seen? So what's your view on the near term and midterm on steel?
Sure.
Thanks.
On interest rate side, we have to look at the hand of RBI. How are they going to deal will determine movement of interest rates. Now, current monetary policy committee is balanced between growth and inflation, unlike previous monetary policy committee, which was far more hawkish. The current RBI governor also is very pragmatic, balancing multiple objectives: currency, interest rates, government's borrowing program, inflation, financial sector stability, and so on and so forth. He has also been willing to take bold steps to support market. Put all these things together, RBI's importance in interest rate policy as well as movement is far more important. Now, today RBI is looking to raise repo rate gradually and calibrated manner so that reverse repo rate and repo rate corridor gets narrowed down. Today it is 65 basis point, repo at 4, reverse repo at 3.35. They would love to raise reverse repo rate to maybe 375 over a period of time so that we go back to that traditional 25 basis point corridor between reverse repo and repo. Now, when reverse repo moves from 3.35 to 3.75, short-term rates will bump up. But hopefully mid to long end rates will not go up substantially. Today, 1-year T-bill is 3.5 rounded off, 10-year GSEC is 6% rounded off. That's a 250 basis point spread. Historically, that spread has been 125 basis point. So my feeling is that we will see rise in short-term interest rate as RBI lifts reverse repo rate. But the mid to long end will continue to remain more or less around current level, plus or minus 5 to 10 basis point. That's how we see flattening of gilt yield curve rather than a parallel movement in interest rates. In that structure, overall interest rates will remain range bound. If I have to hazard a guess, 10-year will probably move between 575 on the lower side to 6.25 on the higher side. Whenever yields become bullish towards 575, RBI will intervene to let yields go back up. Whenever it touches 625, they will intervene to cool off the market. And like a pendulum, we will see interest rates moving up and down. In terms of steel industry,
sorry, just before on this itself, so you don't envisage a scenario where we talk about a higher stimulus and higher fiscal deficit, and therefore pressure on rupee and interest rates also moving up. That scenario you don't foresee in your calculation.
In market, never say never. What I have projected is the rationalistic assumption. But are regulators and markets always rational? Answer is no. Markets can become fearful in anticipation of large deficit. And even if government is prudent in not announcing large deficit, markets can see through that no, eventually numbers will go up. So never say never. But the current scenario based on current data is a pendulum kind of movement within 50, 75 basis point on 10-year. Short-term rates moving up to make yield curve flatter. Now, the scenario which you have mentioned, high fiscal deficit resulting into higher borrowing program, influencing higher interest rates, or inflation remaining higher and hence resulting into higher interest rates. Well, those are low probability events. But can I say no? Answer is clearly no. You have to keep on observing data.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv ji, for asking the question. Next is Mr. Rohit Sabu. So Rohit, you can go ahead. He's from Sandvik Mining Technology. So
thanks, Paras. Thanks for the same. Good afternoon, Nilesh. It's always nice to hear you. Today I'll start with that. Today is Netaji anniversary, and we quote him Netaji because he has given us a financial freedom. I quote you as Netaji for the financial market because I have been following you like anything. You have been, educating us, giving us right direction. In fact, what to take away from Paras, what he has told on the business standard, what you mentioned rightly, that they have to, become a disciplined investor, which is very important. And definitely the concept of averaging and knowledge is very critical, which you have rightly mentioned. Yes, we should, do Saraswati Puja every day. Whether you're doing Lakshmi Puja in
this was one thing that to do Saraswati Puja apart from Lakshmi Puja.
Thanks, Nilesh. I quote you as Netaji for me at least. Thanks for that. Most of the answers, I've got my answers. I've got two queries, Nilesh, from you. One of the thing I can see that market P was 28, 29 last year, average of 30, which has gone down even to 18 this year during the pandemic, and now we are seeing a 38, 39 P, which is all-time high. Whether do you really see this to sustain in the coming quarters, and what are the factors which will drive the earning of the business? And my second question to you will be on the sectors. As you have rightly mentioned that real estate will be a game changer. But I will also like to know some of the sectors we have done well in the lockdown and which you think will do more better in post lockdown beside the real estate sector. For me as a retail investor, I would like to request you again to give us some motivating lines again, so that we get motivated and is to stay in market for next 10, 15 years and we make our wealth in a multiple. That's from my side.
Great, thank you.
So Rohit bhai, let's talk about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. In his whole life, he went from one problem to another, one trouble to another, but he never lost his hope. He escaped from Elgin Road house jail, went all the way to Germany, Japan, Egypt, and yet he returned with the Indian National Army to liberate our country. So somewhere his entire life teaches us one thing: be optimistic. No matter how difficult the situation is, never lose hope. And his vision, his objectives were far higher. But converting that into stock market, investor always has to be optimistic. Pessimism sounds intelligent but doesn't make money. It is always eternal optimist who ends up making money. And last 15, 20, 25 years, we all have benefited from stock market. And those were the problems where we faced so many challenges. Last 25 years were high inflation era for India. Now we are entering low inflation era. Last 25 years were high fiscal deficit for India. Now we are entering low fiscal deficit era. Last 25 years were infrastructure deficit for India. Now we are entering infrastructure surplus. आज power surplus है, road surplus है, freight surplus है. Last 25 years there was a lot of crony capitalism. Decisions were influenced in Delhi. Now we are entering where there will be less crony capitalism. I wouldn't say it will be completely abolished, but it will be less. Last 25 years, we were small minnows on international arena. Now we are large players in international arena. Last 25 years, our entrepreneurs were constrained. Ease of doing business, ease of doing investments, it was missing. Now our entrepreneurs are relatively free. I'm not saying that they're absolutely free, but relative to past 25 years, we are better off. Now that improvement of lower inflation, lower fiscal deficit, better infrastructure, more empowered entrepreneurs, less crony capitalism, shouldn't we be more hopeful about India going forward than what we were at the beginning of our career? Answer is undoubtedly yes. And that optimism you need to inbuilt into yourself, because that will give you hope and confidence to buy when markets are down. I'll give you a live example. मेरा एक colleague है, वो मार्च में अपने डॉक्टर को मिलने गया था और वहीं से उसने मुझे फोन किया कि तू मेरे डॉक्टर से बात कर. अब कलीग थे, डॉक्टर साहब थे, तो मैंने बात कर ली. डॉक्टर साहब बोले कि देख यार, मैं तो है ना सिंपल डॉक्टर हूँ, तुम लोग मार्केट ऊपर नीचे करते हो, मेरा ब्लड प्रेशर ऊपर नीचे होता है, एंड दिस करेक्शन इन मार्केट इज समथिंग व्हिच आई कांट बेयर. मेरी रात को नींद नहीं आती. So I want to sell everything and move into bank fixed deposits. I will at least sleep peacefully. Now, in middle of COVID-19 breakdown, अपने को खुद को मालूम नहीं था कल क्या होगा. I simply tried to reassure him कि सर ऐसी गलती मत करिए, कुछ दिनों के लिए रुक जाइए, ये लेवल बेचने का नहीं है. आप बाद में एक बार कोविड-19 खत्म हो जाए, लॉकडाउन तभी देखते हैं. इन दिनों तो खाली 21 दिन का लॉकडाउन था पहले. बोला सर 21 दिन में लॉकडाउन खत्म हो जाएगा, तब मिल लेंगे, अभी क्या कुछ करना है. He didn't listen to me. He pushed my colleague to sell all his mutual funds, direct equity, and moved into bank fixed deposits. अब जून जुलाई में उनका फोन आया कि नीलेश भाई आप सही बोल रहे थे, ये 3 महीनों में स्टॉक ने उतना रिटर्न दिया है जितने मेरे बैंक एफडी 3 साल में देने वाले थे, अब मैं क्या करूं. बोला सर आपको चैन की नींद चाहिए या पैसा चाहिए, ये बताइए. जब पैसा आएगा तो साथ में चिंता भी आएगी. अब आपके ऊपर आप उस चिंता को कैसे हैंडल करेंगे. If you are going to look at, if you measure blood pressure of a patient, do you measure it continuously or once? एक बार देख लिया थोड़ा हाई है, दवाई दे दो, उसके बाद 6 महीने बाद, 12 महीने बाद, 3 महीने बाद देखेंगे. वैसे भी हमारा इक्विटी इन्वेस्टमेंट है, साल में एक बार देखिए ना, तो आपको भी चैन की नींद आएगी, हमें भी चैन की नींद आएगी. So it is all about how you take volatility. Volatility could be your friend, volatility could be your enemy. As I mentioned, that discipline will always work in your favor. If you buy when markets are expensive, it's like catching a falling knife. Thoda bahut khun niklega. But then when you catch a falling knife, you will always make more money. So it's all about remaining optimist, never lose hope on India. We are in a far better shape than what we were 25 years ago. And next 25 years will create far bigger wealth opportunity than the previous 25 years.
Great. Thank you, Rohit, for
Thanks,
asking the
Nilesh.
question.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So we'll move on now. There is one question with Rohit Tulsian. So he's asking that what is your view on dollar index and FI flows in India for next 3 months? And also what I read and hear that the FI flows mirrors 1 year with a lag with regards to money flow, what is there in money growth there in US. Is it correct that way?
So I mean, I have not tracked that correlation, but the fact remains that India is now no longer dependent upon US alone for investment. We get money from Australia, Japan, Far East, Singapore, Hong Kong, Middle East, Africa, continental Europe, United Kingdom, Canada, Latin America, and America. Except Antarctica, all continents invest in India. Now, US money flow could have material impact on FPI flows. Answer is no. Our money flow will come depending upon what opportunity we provide to investors and how are we staked vis-a-vis others. Today, brand India is far better than brand China, brand Russia, brand Brazil, brand South Africa, brand Indonesia. You have seen Brazilian president using Pawan Putra Hanuman to thank our prime minister, our country. World is not blind to it. They know what we have done. COVID-19, everyone thought that India will be a miserable failure. Today, our active cases are not there in top 10 in the world, even though we are second highest country in terms of population. Our death rate is significantly superior to others. So there is a positivity towards brand India. We will provide better growth opportunity. Money will flow. US flows might get influenced by money growth in US. But as I mentioned, now we are receiving flows from many parts of the world. In terms of dollar index, it has fallen substantially as dollar is weakened against other players. Now there is limited room to go down. However, if they continue to do stimulus and there is already a talk of big stimulus, then dollar in the short term will remain weaker. But now room to go down will be limited.
So there is one question with Mr. Narayan Chandra Parmanik. He's asking about NBFC sector. So, and recently there was a RBI news as well. So how do you read this, all things, specifically for the NBFCs?
So see, when people say NBFC, it's a very large sector. Housing finance company hai, commercial vehicle financing company hai, passenger vehicle financing company hai, personal loan financing company hai, real estate infrastructure financing company hai. So when you talk about NBFC, you need to remember that there is a very, very wide range and all of them will behave in a different manner. If you are doing microfinancing, your NPS could be far higher compared to housing finance company. If you are doing secondary commercial vehicle financing, your NPS could be far higher than passenger vehicle. If you are doing car financing, your NPS will be lower, but two-wheeler financing, scooters, mopeds, bikes, NPS could be higher. So don't take all NBFCs at one basket. There are multiple segments within NBFC. But then how do we evaluate NBFC? See, दो चीजें NBFC में देखनी है. एक, whether this guy will be able to raise capital or not, चाहे equity हो, चाहे debt. As long as NBFCs will raise money, they will be able to grow. अगर एक NBFC आपको लगे कि इसको कोई एक पैसा नहीं देने वाला, तो वो चाहे कुछ भी कर ले, ग्रो कहां से करेगा जबकि उसको पैसा ही नहीं मिल रहा. So always invest in those NBFCs which have ability to raise capital, be it debt, be it equity. Now, how do I determine कि ये बंदा पैसा उठा पाएगा? Look at his balance sheet. Public deposit लेता है, उसके debentures में mutual fund insurance company invest करती है, बैंक financing मिलता है, globally पैसा उठाने का brand है कि नहीं है, retail fixed deposits है कि नहीं है. If a company is able to raise money, that company will be able to grow. Now, second चीज which we have to look at कि ये पैसा raise करके deploy कहाँ पे करता है. अगर उसका deployment ऐसी assets में है कि जहाँ पे NPA होने वाला है तो वो कमाएगा क्या? So credit culture is very critical. How are these companies ensuring that their money lent will come back to them without NPA? Now mortgage में आपको पता है कि by and large fraud नहीं होगा तो आपका पैसा वापस आ जाएगा. So you have to look at the credit culture of the company and their ability to raise money. ये दो चीज अगर आपकी सही हो गई तो आप NBFC पे सही होंगे.
So there is one more question. We'll take it up from Dr. Vijay Choudhury. Sorry. At 50,000 Sensex, which segment small investor can invest? Also, young girl of 23 working at Facebook, New York, should invest in India, and if so, land or equity or mutual fund? So this is a good question.
So if your relative is working in US in Facebook and she is young and she has a long investment horizon because of the age on her side, she should be looking to build a diversified portfolio. She should invest in US equities and US real estate, as well as Indian equity and Indian real estate. My preference will be that she should be overweight risk assets like real estate and equity at this point of time, then fixed income or safe assets. If she wants to invest in gold, she has to buy it in US, not in India, because of 12.5% import duty. More importantly, gold bought in the form of jewelry in US, she will be able to use also. In terms of real estate, US real estate looks far more attractive compared to India. The cost of borrowing is equivalent to rental yield. In India, cost of borrowing is twice, thrice of rental yield. So buying real estate property in US and putting it out on rent will be far better for her. In terms of equity, diversify across US and India. There are some very good businesses in US which you can't get in India. There are some growth opportunities in India which you can't get in US. So let her be overweight gold, real estate in US, and let her be equal weight between US equity and Indian equity.
Right. So there are a lot of hands raised, so we can take up some of the questions over there as well. So always I say to everybody that when Mr. Nilesh Shah is there, it's really very captivating, and a lot of people generally tend to think of asking questions. So Rekha Panchal is one, she's willing to put up a question. So if we can take her up, and a couple of hands are there. So. You can unmute Rekha ji and put up a question if you are there. I think let's take it up then next from Mr. Rajesh Shah. So he's also from quite a long time willing to ask a question. So let me take him. Rakesh ji, you can go ahead, please.
Hi, Nilesh bhai.
Hi.
Nilesh bhai, the budget is saying that we are going for a privatization of banks, PSU banks. PSU banks ne privatize kar bhi jo hai nahi?
Rakesh ji, these are forward-looking statement. I think he won't be.
Then I'll have another question.
क्या होने वाला है budget में? But anything related to views, we can definitely ask him.
Okay, your views on Reliance results.
He is asking a question for Reliance stock specific again, as per mutual fund disclosures and norms. So it's very difficult to talk about stock specific. So anyways, we'll take up some other question from Samir Kapadia. So Samir ji, you can go ahead. No stock specific.
Yes, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, Samir, I can hear you.
So the biggest question of which one after selection of a stock is how many stocks should one have in the portfolio, and should we follow an equal weight strategy or we should have a differential weight strategy? Because at the end, whatever returns you make, you have to always look at it from the portfolio level, and different people follow different strategies. So any views or guide would be helpful. And the second question is in regards with, some of the gurus which I try to follow tell me you should always be fully invested into equity markets. And when you look at it, equity market is one of the highest volatile asset class. So wouldn't it be wise to have money to take advantage of the same volatility?
So Samir, there is no one right way to nirvana. Cheteshwar Pujara style of betting is also fine. Rishabh Pant style of betting is also fine. Washington Sundar style betting is also fine. And Rohit Sharma betting is also fine. Now, Cheteshwar Pujara to bet like Rohit Sharma, he will be disaster. If you ask Rohit Sharma to bet like Cheteshwar Pujara, he'll be disaster. So you have to do what is suitable to you. If you have ability to take volatility, then remain fully invested. But if you are like that Dr. Saab who will lose his peaceful sleep when markets come down, then please don't get fully invested. So do what is suitable to you, do what is appropriate to you. Number two,
Sorry.
what style will work, how many stocks, it all depends upon your confidence and comfort. If you are able to track, let's say 20 stocks, then 20 is good enough. If you are able to track 10 stocks, then 10 is good enough. If you have conviction to put on one stock, that also is good enough. But please remember that when you're betting on one stock, you are betting your life on it. Your work should be so good. If you are betting on 20 stocks, then you need to have time, inclination to research those 20 stocks. I'll give you a small story about Ramesh Damani ji. He was sharing this in Flame Institute, Pune.
Please.
So Ramesh ji, Rakesh ji, Radhakishan Damani ji, and Nimesh Bhai, these are all giant stalwart investors. In 4 of them, Ramesh ji has found maximum 100 beggars. Stocks which he bought at 1 and eventually made 100. On the other hand, Rakesh ji, Radhakishan Damani ji and Nimesh Bhai has had far less 100 beggars than Ramesh ji. And yet their wealth is far more than Ramesh Damani. And Ramesh ji explained beautifully कि जब मेरे को stocks मिले 100 beggar, मैं उनके ऊपर उतना bet नहीं किया जितना करना चाहिए था. निमेश भाई को या राधाकिशन जी को जब 100 beggar मिले, उन्होंने बड़ा bet लिया वहां पे. So it is your confidence level, your style, your capability to research which should determine what is good for you.
So doesn't that mean ki like we should have a bit more concentrated, because again the said example which you just quoted tries to tell you that only.
ऐसा नहीं है. See, concentration has one risk and one reward. Diversification has one risk and one reward. Concentration में आपकी confidence होनी चाहिए. नहीं तो 14,000 निफ्टी पे आप लेंगे, 7,800 पे बेच के निकल जाएंगे.
Got it. Got it. And one last, if I can just squeeze in regards with the general insurance comment which you just made. You know, most of the general insurance companies are still not making operating level profit. Most of the profit which are coming is because of their investment income. So how do you see it, you know, growing ahead?
General insurance का मॉडल ही ये है कि your premium income should cover your risk payout and जो float रहता है उसमें investment करके पैसा बनाओ. That's how Berkshire Hathaway was created. So as long as general insurance companies are able to earn interesting investment income, that's good enough. That's how that business is supposed to run.
Great, Samirji, thank you so much.
Thanks.
We take up, allow others also.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have paucity of time. Mr. Nirmal Chandra wanted to ask a question. So we'll put it live. Nirmalji, if you can put up your question. Nirmalji, unmute yourself. Yeah, please. Go ahead. I think he's on mute. Nirmalji, you are on mute. Now you can put up a question. Still on mute. Other than that, we will take up Mr. Vinod Khaitan. So he's also eagerly waiting to ask a question. So if he's there, we can take up his question.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My question is, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
My question is, from last 6-7 months, we are seeing that foreign institutional investors are pumping money into the market, and domestic institutional investors are withdrawing the money from the market. And you have projected a rosy picture about the Indian economy and Indian stock market. It seems that the hedge funds are participating more vigorously in the current Indian equity market. So far, the data I have seen in the last 6-7 months, they have injected more than 1 lakh crore into the stock market. Then if the pictures are so rosy about India, why the domestic institutional investors, which consist of the institution and mutual fund, are continuously selling in the Indian stock market?
So very good question, Binod ji. In the month of March, FPI sold 60,000 crore. We bought 60,000 crore. That 60,000 is worth 1,20,000 crore today. We have given 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% return to investors in a very short period of time. Now, my investors are redeeming from mutual fund for variety of reasons. किसको लगता है कि ये मार्केट बहुत चल गया है, चलो पैसा घर पे लेके जाते हैं. Someone is redeeming to invest into his business. Someone is redeeming to invest into real estate. So I have same level of cash in December 20 as I had in March 20. मैंने कोई कैश कॉल लिया नहीं है. मार्च में आपने मुझे पैसे दिए तो मैंने जाके मार्केट में माल खरीदा. अक्टूबर, नवंबर, दिसंबर में लोगों ने मुझे मेरे से रिडम्पशन किया तो मैंने जाके मार्केट में बेचा. मेरा मार्केट के ऊपर आज भी वही कॉल है जो मार्च में था.
Right, true. So there is one more question with regard to housing finance companies. So what is your view from a 3 to 4 year perspective?
So again, in housing finance companies, please focus on the credit culture. Now, in generally, housing में पैसा खोना बहुत मुश्किल unless until fraud हो. But then many housing finance companies venture into real estate financing, and that's where the risk comes and hits them. Second, the housing finance company should have ability to raise capital. If you can't raise money, then you can't survive in NBFC business. So go and invest in housing finance companies where credit culture is good, where they serve customer, and where they have ability to raise capital.
Perfect. So one or two more questions we can take in.
Paras, I'll have to leave because there is another meeting.
This is the last question.
Yeah.
So after that, we'll wind it up and ask Kesita ji for a vote of thanks as well. So JP Singhi ji wanted to ask a question. So please, JP Singhi ji, you can. This is the last question.
Sir, when in past American markets were going down, even though India is up, next day they used to say, hey, America down ho gaya, bol ke aaj down ho raha hai. But last 15 days, all others are going down and we are going up and up and up, even crossed 50,000. So how do people say like this?
But I couldn't hear properly.
So his question was more related to that for last 10-15 days or last couple of weeks, the stock market has went up and up and up only. So what should as an investor do?
So, Mr. Singh, you have to follow disciplined asset allocation. Suppose आपके risk profile के हिसाब से आपके investment objective के अनुसार you need to put 50% in equity and 50% in debt. अब अगर आपने मार्च में अच्छा माल खरीदा and now your wealth is 70% equity and 30% debt, then it is time to sell 20% and come to 50-50. If you are only at 30% in equity and you need to be at 50, then it is time to buy 20%. अब मार्केट कल ऊपर जाएगा नीचे जाएगा किसी को नहीं मालूम. सो अगर बेचना है तो 10-12 ट्रांचेस में धीरे धीरे बेचेंगे. आधा बजट के पहले बेचेंगे, आधा बजट के बाद बेचेंगे. अगर लेना है तो सेम स्ट्रेटेजी अपनाएंगे. See, people focus so much on the market that they don't recognize what is my investment in market. No matter how high market go or come down, if you are not invested, you will not be able to benefit. So focus on your asset allocation in this market. This is a fair value market. यहाँ पे आपके रिस्क प्रोफाइल के अनुसार एक इक्वल वेट एलोकेशन करना चाहिए मार्केट में. यह लिवरेज चलाने का, ट्रेडिंग करने का, ओवरवेट रहने का मार्केट नहीं है.
So that was the last question. Thank you so much. Now I'll ask Ishita ji to give a vote of thanks from Ashika Group Institution.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Paras ji. Yeah, Nilesh bhai, this is Ishita. I'm part of the Institutional Equities team. Nilesh bhai, I think it is the most effortless to listen to you talk. I have had the pleasure to hear you talk in person as well, and multiple of these webinars. It is, I think, Warren Buffett said that invest in, simple businesses. Don't don't chase complication. Invest in simple businesses that you understand. Every time we hear you speak, I think that is just reinstated and reinforced. That something like a general insurance, or the insurance space in general, I think is so convoluted for anybody who's not in that industry to understand. You make it seem so simple. Gold is such a convoluted topic to discuss, and you make everything so crystal clear. I think it's a treat to listen to you, sir. If I invest, if somebody on this call doesn't invest, I think there's just so much learning in and out of the financial industry that we're extremely grateful for your time each time, sir, we hear you talk. It is phenomenal. Thank you so much from the entire team to agree to speak to us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paraji, for the excellent moderation as well.
Thank you so much, all the participants for joining, and Mr. Nilesh, thank you so much, sir, for your time.